All right, welcome in to episode 6 of Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of the Are You Ready for Some Football Fantasy Football League. And what a crazy week. We finally had some trades. We had close game on Monday night. We had a ridiculous scoring record. Joe, where do you want to start?
There's so much to get to. I'm doing great, by the way. I think we should start with the trades, kind of that led us into the week, and it had, I guess, somewhat of an impact on the games.
Yeah, let's start from there. So the first domino to fall, the first trade of the season, took all the way to week 5, and it was a pretty big one between Ben and Hunter.
Yeah, so Ben traded Cooper Kupp and Jalen Waddle to Hunter, and also gave up Mark Ingram, but I think Hunter dropped Mark Ingram immediately. And Hunter gave up Julio Jones, Chase Edmonds, and Zach Moss. So we talked about this last week for Ben. Didn't love his running back situation at all. Kind of thought, maybe you sell Waller, maybe you sell a Kupp. So I understand what he was doing. I don't have a problem at all with trading Cooper Kupp, selling high on him. The problem is he didn't sell high because I don't think he got nearly good enough value. The first offer I would have made, and I don't know, we'll get to Zach later. He made a trade. I would have offered Zach Cooper Kupp for Antonio Gibson straight up. I think that makes sense for both teams. I think that gives Zach a legitimate wide receiver 1. That gives Ben a clear running back 1. And it's not like Antonio Gibson's like the worst of the 3 running backs Zach had going into the last week. So I think that would have made a lot of sense. I think there's a myriad of other places you could have looked. I just don't really get the offer he made. Like Chase Edmonds is fine, but he doesn't get goal line work. Zach Moss also doesn't really get goal line work because Josh Allen does. He's fine, he's whatever. And then Julio has had one good game this year and has been hurt and is in his 30s and old. So I really don't understand this for Ben.
Yeah, I mean,
great trade for Hunter, though.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I think I understand what he was trying to do, and I do think he needed to make a move to get a running back, but I don't think this was a really good value for Ben. I think for Hunter, obviously, it's a screaming value. He can get 2, back end RB2s probably for the rest of the year, and get, arguably the number 1 receiver in fantasy. Now, this week maybe disproved what we thought a little bit, because Cooper Kupp wasn't amazing, but Chase Edmonds was terrible. Julio didn't even play, and Zach Moss I think he got like 10 points. So, all that to say, I just don't think it's good value for Ben. But he did have to make a move to get a running back. I understand feeling backed into a corner. I'm glad that people are making trades. And I really like it for Hunter. I think we'll get to the power rankings later, but this move is really important for Hunter going forward rest of the season, sort of capitalize on some of that depth and get another top end piece to go with McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to bring up. That this is one of the benefits in fantasy of depth, is that you can afford to do stuff like this. Like you've been talking, I know a couple other teams in the league have been talking about how it's frustrating because y'all don't really have the depth to make these moves. Hunter does, and so he was able to capitalize it and he got a top 10, I think a locked in top 10 receiver, and he didn't have to give up either of his top 2 running backs, his quarterback, or his other top 10 wide receiver. So I think that's really good value that he got for him.
All right, and then the next big trade was between you and Zach. This one went down Saturday morning. So the deal was you acquired Nick Chubb and Brandon Cooks and Dalton Schultz from Zach for Amari Cooper, TJ Hockenson, and Kareem Hunt. So I think another thing, we see Zach trying to balance his team out a little bit. What was your thought process here in this one?
Yeah, so me and Zach have been going, just a little peek behind the curtain. We've been negotiating for a few weeks now. There was some talks for Zeke a couple weeks ago. Didn't really materialize into anything. So this was negotiated. I was a little drunk on Friday night while this was agreed upon, but I like what I ended up getting. And so this really fulfilled my need. My biggest need was a solidified running back one. I had David Montgomery kind of in that role, but he was kind of borderline. Then he got hurt. James Robinson's been good, but like, will he sustain that type of production? Who knows? So I get what my biggest need is of a running back one. I'm able to cash in again, talking about depth on some of my receiver depth and on, having a good tight end for the first half of the year. We'll see about the rest of TJ Hawkinson. I understand it for from Zach's point of view. He had the 3 good running backs. He wanted to cash in on one of them. And, he ended up getting Kareem Hunt, who they split a lot of work in Cleveland. And so Kareem Hunt's been really good this year. So that's still a super startable player. Amari is now his, by far his best receiver. And Hawkinson, in theory, we'll see. He's dealing with a knee issue. But that should be like a solidified every week type of tight end. I did like that I got back Dalton Schultz because I think that's a very startable option at tight end. So overall, I like it for both sides. I like it slightly more for me because I'm in contention and Zach really is not right now, and as we'll get to later.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I sort of see what Zach was doing here. I think it depends on where you stand on Amari Cooper, because I think if Amari Cooper ends up as a top 15 receiver, then it's probably a good deal for Zach. But he did give up a lot, giving up Nick Chubb, the best player in the deal, and giving up Brandon Cooks, who's been really good, and then Hawkinson to come out and disappoint him in the first week it is tough. But I think I don't really worry as much about Hawkinson. I think that it depends on Amari for him. And then for you, to get Nick Chubb, obviously huge for your team. Now your running back group is among the best in the league. Obviously your receivers are really good. Whole starting lineup is really solid. So I obviously really like it for you. I don't like it as much for Zach, but I understand what he's doing. I don't know. I still don't know if I'm fully around on the Cleveland running backs being as close as they have been so far. But I mean, it's been 5 weeks, and I think Kareem Hunt has more points. So maybe I should be more. I should see him more similarly than I do. But I do think he kind of gave up a lot here.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to figure with Cleveland, Chubb's still getting more work, so it'll balance out. But I think Kareem Hunt does get more passing work, which is something to be noted. Yeah, overall, I think it's pretty good for both sides, and yeah, we'll see going forward.
Yeah, and then the last deal, smaller scale than what we've been talking about so far. But I swapped Brandon Bolden to Austin for AJ Dillon. And I also gave him $30. Basically, he needed an empty roster space, and so I gave him some free agent money for AJ Dillon. Works out for both teams. He got to make an extra ad last week to get a tight end that he could play, and I got to get my handcuff for Aaron Jones. So I was really happy with this. Obviously I would have preferred it if I hadn't just paid $15 for Brandon Bolden, but I felt like I really needed to get AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I think this makes sense for both sides. You basically just bought insurance on Aaron Jones, which you need, as he's your only like reliable running back. So if he goes down, if you didn't have AJ Dillon, you would be absolutely screwed. So now you've got some insurance there. And yeah, Austin, I like getting the $30 for a player, unless Aaron Jones went down, he was never going to start. Getting the $30 of fab, that's good, I think. I just, to clear up a roster spot when he could have just dropped Tyrell Williams from his IR and then moved Kittle there. Yeah, I don't really get that much. And he did it because he wanted to keep Josh Gordon on his bench, who he then dropped this week. So just kind of curious bench decisions from Austin, but getting the $30 fab, which is the, his deal in the trade is good. Is pretty good value for AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I mean, it allowed him to go out and be aggressive and get Devontae Booker this week. So,
yep,
pay off in that way. So let's jump into the recap then. And I think, the obvious place to start is the ridiculous scoring record set by Colin this week, posting 202 points to take down Austin by 70. So Austin scored 130 and got beat by 70. 202 to 131. Obviously, I put the stats in the group me. This is an absolutely outrageous score. Grant just reset the scoring record last week by fraction of a point, and then Austin goes out and just demolishes it by over 30 points. the difference between this one and Grant's score is the same as the difference between Grant and the 50th most points in league history. So absolutely outrageous. 14 touchdowns, 4 guys over 30 and 1 guy at 29. So basically 5 guys over 30. I'm not really sure what type of analysis there is to do here. Huge win for Colin, an absolutely outrageous performance that just shows why we were so high on this team coming into this week.
Yeah, that's the most impressive performance from a team the league has ever seen. And I don't think it's, well, obviously he beat the record by 30 points. So it's not even very close. Just like if we're going through the team and kind of looking at it, second straight really good game for Jonathan Taylor is huge. Mike Williams is the wide receiver 1 in fantasy now, just huge upside. Hollywood Brown just looks like a certified, top 20 receiver. He's maybe even better. He's been really consistent since the end of last year. Like there's just not a lot of weaknesses on Colin's team right now. For as far as Austin goes, that's just a brutal loss because it's just terrible timing. He was 1-3. He got off to a really good start in the noon games. And it's just really unfortunate timing with getting the 130, and then he lost Clyde and he lost Kittle coming into the week. So like that's just a loss that he did not need to have, but there's nothing you can do when the other team puts up 200 friggin' points. Like there's just nothing you can do. Austin did get Devontae Booker, so maybe a little bit less concerning for him, but that's a tough loss to go to 1-4 without 2 of your best 4 players going forward, probably.
Yeah, absolutely brutal for Austin. 2 weeks in a row giving up new scoring records. He had the game a couple years ago where he scored 167 and lost. Just really, really bad luck for Austin. Absolutely brutal. You almost always win with 131 points, and to get beat by 70 is just it's got to be demoralizing for the squad. It's got to be tough. But obviously just outrageous performance by Colin. One that will, I'm sure, stay on the record books for a long, long time. What do you think, Joe? Would you say by the end of 2023, is this still the league scoring record?
Provided we don't go to PPR, yeah. I think if we stay at half PPR, I think it'll be, because Morgan's lasted for 2 years until this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then this was broken by 30 points. So
no, I think Morgan was last year, wasn't it?
Oh, that was 2019.
It was back-to-back weeks. It may have been 2019. Actually, I think it was 2019.
Yeah. So
no,
Morgan's
it was
lasted
2020.
2 years.
Hunter.
Oh, was it?
It was Hunter and Grant. 2020 tied. Morgan's was
okay.
In 2019 before that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. They both of them exactly tied it to like the 100th of the point. Yeah. But so nobody
at least one
broke
scoring
it,
record every year since 2018.
Yeah. So nobody technically broke it, I guess. But yeah, no, he beat it by 30 points. I don't think 200. Like he had essentially 5 players score 30 points. Like when is that? How often is that ever going to happen?
Yeah, no, absolutely ridiculous. And usually when you get like one of these elite scores, you have like a defense score 20 points or something like that. This was just just his team just absolutely went berserk.
Yeah, and like he didn't even have that good of games from Cortland Sutton and Evan Ingram, and it wasn't even like his entire team wasn't even in double digits. And
Cortland Sutton got 21.
Oh, who am I thinking of?
Godwin.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely absurd performance. Austin's 70th win, and this is really gonna give him some confidence moving forward. So we'll move on to this was first of all a high scoring week all around. But the next biggest performance of the week was Grant, fresh off his scoring record from last week, comes out, scores 150 again. Hunter had a big Lamar game, but it wasn't nearly enough. Huge win from Grant. His 80th all time, making him the 3rd team to that mark. His first team to have 550 point games, extend his winning streak to 8 games. big performance from Grant. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, like obviously the Saquon injury is tough for him, but like with Grant, like it almost doesn't even matter who's in a starting lineup. It seems like whoever he puts in is just going to be is just going to put up double digits. Yeah, he had DK who got off, caught a touchdown pass. Russell Wilson gets hurt. Geno Smith comes in. You're figuring not good for Tyler Lockett, not good for DK. Then DK catches another touchdown pass from Geno Smith. So like, I don't think that's actually as big of a drop off for. I think DK is going to get a huge percentage of the target share with Geno Smith there now. So even that I think is not that bad for him. Yeah, like Cordaro continues to get used. He's just got an overall like top to bottom really solid team. Obviously, he got 15 from the Bills defense against the Chiefs, which is that's something right there. But even if even if the Bills put up 0, that's 135 points. So obviously the Saquon injury sucks, but like it doesn't even matter for Grant. For Hunter, I think he should be fine. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago when McCaffrey got hurt. If he can just split the 2 games he was out, I think he'd be fine. He did that. He beat Dan last week. So, and then obviously the trade he made. I think Hunter's team is even though he's 2-3 and put up was the 11th score this week. I still think Hunter's team is good, top to bottom.
Yeah. I mean, it looked for a while like he was going to end up with some score in like the 70s. And I didn't really realize that was within the range of outcomes for his team as good as it was, coming in projected 130. But, Lamar just went off, just showed you how good his team can be, which is just a floor performance, and he still ends up with 100 points. So yeah, I don't think too much to be concerned about for Hunter, but big performance from Grant, 150 points, essentially without his best player. So with a 0 from his best player. So really, really good game for him. And then next up, we had the absolutely brutal Monday night game with Nick getting the 36 points from Mark Andrews and beating Zach 142 to 134.
Yeah, we'll have Nick on later to discuss, but I think about Zach. We love Zach. He's a great member of our league. I wouldn't blame him at all if he wanted to take like a hiatus from fantasy at this point. I don't even know what you say at this point. Like I still think his team, even like with the trade he made with me, his team is still good. It's just he just like keeps getting just on the end of these brutal losses. And if it weren't for Austin, he would have just definitely the most points against, but Austin has just ridiculous points against. Bad luck this year. And like his team is good. I still think his team is good, but like I just think it doesn't matter when you start 0-5. Like he has to be 7-2 to make the playoffs. I just don't see that happening at all. Yeah, for Nick, that's just a win he absolutely had to have. His team was in a little bit of a free fall. I dropped him 6 spots last week in the power rankings. He was on the verge of going 1-4, and then just gets the best tight end performance of the year from Mark Andrews on Monday night, and now he's 2-3, and there's a little bit more hope for reason for optimism. He did it without Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, kind of a mysterious scratch. Didn't make the trip to London with the Falcons, so all that. Still has some running back issues like we discussed. Damien Harris not healthy right now, but I think he got enough from Brady and from Mark Andrews, basically just those two, and a little bit from CD that carried his team. So it's a good one for Nick that he absolutely needed to have, and just a brutal loss for Zach.
Yeah. No, yeah, we talked about Austin losing with 130 points earlier. The only thing worse than that is losing with 130 points on Monday night when you're already 0-4. So absolutely brutal for Zach. He did pass 10,000 points in this one, which I'm sure he's very excited about. But he needed this game, and it looks like he had it for a long time. But Nick finally does get the Monday night revenge from last season and the Monday night revenge from earlier this year. So, big game for Nick. Fun to watch on Monday night. I didn't even write this game down as one that could be close pre-game, and then checked the scores in the middle of the third quarter and was like, uh-oh. So, great performance from Nick. And for Zach, I think you're right. It may start to be time to turn the focus towards next season. But Zach won't give up. He'll make some moves, and he'll he'll do what's best for his team, try to get back into it. But it probably will be too little, too late at that point.
Yeah, and we have the Haney Cup for a reason to promote, play throughout the season, and you never know until you're mathematically eliminated. You can just never know. Maybe even 6 and 8 gets in, and weird stuff happens. So I think until Zach gets that 9th loss, there's no reason to. That sounds really just weird saying now, but until Zach gets the 9th loss, I don't think he's eliminated. But yeah, I don't know what you do at this point. I just gotta hope that your luck turns around.
Yep. And then we'll move on to Morgan. Morgan getting a big win over Dan, 128-109. Looked like it could get close on Monday night, but Michael Pittman did plenty enough to hold the lead for Morgan after a big performance from Dawson Knox on Sunday night. Got him back in the driver's seat. And for Dan, he continues to have nothing outside of those running backs. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Joe?
Yeah, I thought this was a great win for Morgan. Battle of the 2-2 teams that we've been a little bit unsure of, and now that's Morgan's second really good performance of the season. He got a cheap win against Hunter, but his other 2 wins have been really, really good performances. Devontae Adams is just a stud. Michael Pittman, like you brought up, I think that's given him a really solid flex option to start. I think both of us were a little bit concerned with Morgan's depth and like flex, who he could play in his flex. And I think Michael Pittman's given him a really good option there. Dawson Knox is just a great pickup. Has scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Has been a big target for Josh Allen there. As far as Dan goes, I think his team is just not in a good spot right now. He lost Russ, who is one of like his 3 good players. His team is just atrocious outside of those 2 running backs. Like it's just like his receivers are. We've talked about this, some this year, but like his receivers are just so bad, and he hasn't figured it out. Now he's 2-3. Now he's got he's playing you this week with Kamara on bye, and like I don't see it getting any better for him anytime soon. Like I think he's in a rough spot right now.
For sure. And then our matchup. So you won your 7th in a row in this series, 123-86. Just a dud from my team. Your team solid as always. Nick Chubb coming through in his first game as a riding the lucker. And so big win for you. Evens you up at 3-2, back in the driver's seat to get in the playoffs. What is your takeaways from this one?
A little more consistent. I mean, I was the 7th scoring team this week, which in most weeks it would be an easy top 6 performance, but this week, with all the absurd scores, wasn't enough to get in the top 6. But 123, I like a little bit more consistency. And now so Damian Williams came in, did a fairly good job for David Montgomery, and then I got another running back or starting running back with Clyde's injury. I picked up Darrell Williams last week, so that's 4 starting running backs that I have now, which is really good depth. As far as the rest of the league goes, running back depth is a little bit few and far between. Jalen Hurts is just a guy like he's kind of the classic case of he's not a good real life quarterback, but he runs the ball so much and he gets so much, I guess goal line work that he's a really good fantasy quarterback, and he's the quarterback 5 this year. For you, I think there's some issues. I think it looks like McCaffrey's coming back, so that's the end of Chuba as a startable option. So that kind of gives no good running back 2 option. I guess by default it's Miles Sanders, who it just never gets the ball and is in a weird split backfield with Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Hurts, which you really don't want to see out of your running back 2. There's not a lot of reliable flex options for you. Like obviously Tyreek's good. Thielen, despite a down performance, is solid. Claypool with Juju's injury maybe is better, but who knows? And Tyler Boyd they haven't been able to spread the wealth between 3 guys there. So the depth right there right now is just not there for you. And so I definitely think there were some issues. Obviously, like kind of a subpar Tyreek and Mahomes game, which you're not going to see too often. But I think even outside of that and Aaron Jones, like there's a lot of issues there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not a good time for this team. You know, we had gotten by with a bunch of touchdowns and a bunch of good weeks in a row, but 86 points, never going to get it done. Only scored 2 touchdowns. Wasn't my week. You know, you're going to have some duds like this. It doesn't bother you to lose a game whenever you score 86 points, but yeah, I think the signs moving forward are not great. And then the last game on the docket, Thomas without Dalvin Cook still edges out Ben 107 to 105. Just, I mean, an ugly game all around, the low scoring matchup of the week. You thought Ben might have a chance with Zach Moss on Sunday night, didn't materialize. And yeah, so Thomas, this series has gone back and forth for their first 12 matchups now. It's even 6-6. Thomas got the win here.
I would be incensed if I was Ben losing this game. It's just like pure managerial negligence from Thomas. The Dalvin Cook was declared out an hour and a half before the game started. I assume we all have the fantasy app on our phone and we can check, and most people check right before. It's very easy to just move the injured guy out of your lineup, and Thomas didn't do that. You know, we've had issues with managers with that in the past who may or may not still be in the league. So it almost cost him, and he's really lucky that it didn't. And on top of all that, he started the Dolphins defense against Tom Brady and the Bucs. I just don't know what Tom was thinking, and he still won, which, like, I don't know, like, if you lose all that and you're Ben, like, I don't know any positives you can take from it. You know, he benched Myles Gaskin, Ben did, which was certainly very defensible based off of kind of Myles Gaskin's,
based on him getting 2 carries the week before.
Yeah. No, it's obviously a very I think that's just an unlucky. He got a couple pass catch touchdowns. So, you know, that's just kind of a tough break there. I don't know what you can say if you're Ben. You know, Thomas did everything he possibly could to lose this game, and Ben just wouldn't take it from him. So I guess good for Thomas.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about all you can say. All right, well, that does it for the recap. I think we're already gone fairly long, so we will skip out on doing a segment this week and jump straight towards our power rankings. I guess we could talk about the waivers just for a second that happened the other day. The big moves there, obviously, are Zach going in and picking up another receiver with Kadarius Toney. We'll see if that can make the difference for Zach, who has struggled at the receiver position this season. And then Austin using some of that money he acquired last week to get Devontae Booker to hopefully give him a few weeks while Clyde is out. I like both of those moves. Those both make logical sense as teams to be in the running. So I thought a pretty solid week on the waivers for those two.
Yeah, I agree. And then Zach also, like, he got the $40 a fab from me in our trades. So he used that on Toney. So yeah, I thought it made sense for both of them. I thought good moves by both.
All right, so we'll move on to our week 6 power rankings, and start at the bottom and go up as always. You said before you think that they'll be similar. I'm not so sure. I did some shuffling around this week. You know, I felt like last week I was maybe a little bit too adherent to the records, only 4 weeks into the season, and so I was a little more loose with that this week. You know, it's a long season, 14-game season. We're not even talking about the playoff picture just yet, although I think we may try to start doing that next week on the podcast. So I think that I was a little more, how do I feel about the teams this week? Because that's what I felt like I didn't do a great job of getting last week. And so I started off, and at number 12, I actually have a change here. I've got Ben at 12. You know, I think obviously you can make the case for Zach at 0 and 5, but the thing is, I just like Zach's team a lot better. And so if I'm talking about who has a chance to win the league, you know, I think Ben, before you could say, well, he's maybe got the wide receiver 1 and the tight end, you know, 2, and that gives him big upside. But now he doesn't have that anymore. He doesn't have Cooper Kupp, who could be the wide receiver one. And so I think that his ceiling is sort of gone. He's 1-4, which means he's in bad position as it stands. And he just lost to a team without a starting running back. So I don't see how I cannot have been at 12 here.
Okay. So I guess we switched kind of lines of thought from last week to this week. I moved Zach down to 12. I was gonna put him before that Mark Andrews kind of Monday Night Miracle. I was gonna put him probably at 9 because obviously then Nick would have been also 1-4. But I can't. He's 0-5. Like I can't. Like I just don't think 7-2 is gonna happen. How many stretches? Obviously you can look this up later, but how many stretches has over a 9-week period has anybody gone 7-2 or better? Like in our league, like I just don't think it see it happening. So like as bad as Ben's team is, 6-3 is more doable than 7-2. So yeah, I can't do an 0-5 team not in last.
I understand that logic, but I think if Ben somehow sneaks into the playoffs, I don't think he's gonna have the talent to win. You're right, maybe he has a slightly higher chance to get into the playoffs, but like I could much easier see Zach be a big spoiler towards the end of the year if he gets hot than Ben.
Yeah, but I mean, you never know. Like he's got a little bit of running back depth now. I mean, like listen, I don't like Ben's team at all. But making the case, like he's got a little bit of running back depth, and he's got still some receiver depth, and maybe Julio ends up hitting, and Devontae Smith gets better, and Waller goes back to like his week 1 self, and you never know. And I just think 1-4, you'd just much rather be 1-4.
Well, so as I said, Jack at 11. You have Ben at 11.
Yep.
All right, so we're through the 11s. So at 10, I've got Austin. I had him at 10 last week. I keep him at 10 this week. He had a nice performance, but he lost. I think the record is what's holding him back here. And then the Clyde injury just hurts. I mean, that's just adding insult to injury. Clyde was finally starting to turn the corner and play well. I'd still really like Najee this year. I think he's going to be really good. But I think at 1-4, and now without a starting running back, it's going to be tough for Austin. So I don't really know that I could put him much higher than this.
Yep, totally agree. I had Austin 9 last week, moved him to 10 this week. And we also recorded last week before Kittle got placed on the IR. So that's 2 of your best 5 players. Now he's relying a whole lot on Najee and Antonio Brown and D-Hop. And then I guess he hopes that Devontae Booker can, be like 80% of Saquon. I don't know. So yeah, just kind of rough vibes around Austin's team right now.
Yeah. So at 9, I went with Dan here. It feels a little strange, but he's 2-3, and his team, like you said earlier during the recap, just doesn't have anything outside of Kamara and outside of Derrick Henry. And with Russ going down, I think that puts him in a tough spot. I think he's got Kamara on bye this week, so that's gonna be a tough game for him to lose, and at that point, or for him to win. And then at that point, if he's 2-4, I don't know. I think Dan of the remaining teams is the worst one, so I've got Dan at 9.
Totally agree again. I think he just a bad performance, and obviously Russ got hurt, but that hurts him a lot. And the receivers, and Latavius wasn't even very good, and that was a guy that we thought was going to be a good starter for him. So just just atrocious outside of those 2 guys and James Conner. So Dan at 9.
And number 8, I've got the big winner of the week, which is Nick. He's still 2-3. I still have some questions about his team. I don't know how repeatable a big Mark Andrews performance on Monday night is. So I didn't want to move him down. I had him at 8 last week, but I don't know that I can move him up either. I still need to see it for another week from Nick. So I got Nick at 8.
I told you we were going to agree a lot. I also have Nick at 8. And I think I was a little harsh on him last week. I think I was just really disappointed. Yeah, I think in hindsight, I probably would have put him ahead of Zach and maybe Austin. But I was just really disappointed in him. But yeah, it was a big win. I still like his running back issues are still there, but I think the receivers will turn it around. Andrews looks really good. So yeah, I mean, really good win that he absolutely had to have. So I have him also at 8.
And at number 7, I've got me at 7. Rough performance from me this week. Like you said during the recap, a lot of questions about my team that we didn't know we had before. Running back 2 is a huge question mark. The flex depth looks bad. I don't know. I'm down 4 spots to 7 in my rankings.
Yeah, I figured that's what you're gonna do. I have Morgan at 7. Kind of, I considered him in the top 6. Really good week for him. I still think you know, I don't love his running back situation. I don't love his Stafford at quarterback really compared to the rest of the league, but I do think, you know, he's got 3 receivers that I think he can feel really good about. Still, I think the best wide receiver duo in the league. Yeah, I do think his team is pretty solid. I just, outside of Devontae kind of and a little bit of Terry, I haven't quite seen the upside with the running backs or the quarterback. So but I think his team is pretty solid. So I'm at 7.
Yeah. I'm at 6. Like you said, what puts him over the top here is just he's got that elite wide receiver duo, and he has 2 legitimate running backs, which is, you know, not something that I could say about myself. So I think that core strength with Dawson Knox as a breakout tight end, like you said, he's got 2 strong wins now. And I think his team's just, you know, rising up the ranks. I don't think you maybe got the top end crazy elite ceiling of some of these other teams, but I think that he's at a place now where he can be solid. He's got Michael Pittman to rely on in one of those flex positions. I like where he's at. I got him at number 7, or I got him at number 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved you down 4 spots to number 6. I think you still have, like, kind of just in comparison with Morgan, I still think you have the upside over him. You still have, you know, if you're comparing the 2 teams, I still think, no, well, maybe Devontae, but you would, or I think I'd rather have Tyreek than Devontae. No, I'd rather have Devontae, but you have a better running back 1, a better quarterback. I still kind of trust your flex options a little bit more. I think Claypool could be better with no Juju. So it's pretty close between you and Morgan, and my number 5 team, but I have you at 6.
And at number 5, I think you're going to agree with this. I've got Thomas. I think that he is 4-1, and that's what kind of puts him over Morgan, in my opinion. But I think he's got some cheap wins, and I think that I'm starting to question some of the construction of the team. You know, obviously Dalvin's been hurt, so once Dalvin comes back, maybe it'll answer our questions. But I don't think the receivers are as good as we thought they would be. You know, tight end, he's got a revolving door there. So I got him at what? I got him at 7, right? Not at 7, at 5. Oh yeah, he has Pitts.
He has Kyle Pitts. Yeah, he was just on by. So I have Hunter at 5, and it's only because I don't think I can put a sub 500 team in my top 4. But you know, I know it's kind of unfair to Morgan because Morgan has scored more points and beat Hunter head to head and has a better record than him. But I just like Morgan's or Hunter's team better. I just think it's deeper top to bottom. He's got a really good running back duo. He's got a really good wide receiver duo now. He's got a really good quarterback. He's got some still okay flex options, although I'm starting to sour on those a little bit as we're you know, we liked Hunter's depth so much, or we used to. But he still has just a really good starting lineup. I just I don't think I can put a 2 and 3 team higher than 4 though, or 5 though.
Yeah. Well, I have him at 4. You know, I think that making that move, getting Cooper Kupp, just, I think, you know, to me, there's 4 really, really great teams, and then there's everybody else. And I think Hunter is, you know, now that he's got McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp solidly in that top 4. You know, I think Cooper Kupp and DJ Moore, really good receiver duo. Christian McCaffrey and Darrell Henderson, maybe the best running backs in the league. He's got Lamar. You know, he's had to figure it out at flex a little bit. But he's got some depth. He's got some bench options. He's got Mike Davis, who can always be good for a few points. Kenny Galladay. I just like the team, and I think now that, you know, he may have the number 1 running back and the number 1 receiver. I I think that we saw his floor last week, and he still scored 100 points. I feel good about Hunter at 4. I think his team is easily one of the best 4 in the league, and I really think that top 4 is kind of a tier above everyone else.
Yeah, I have Thomas just because he's got 2 games on Hunter, and I still do like Thomas's team, but I am docking him a spot because of the managerial negligence. He, performed this week with not subbing out Dalvin. I still think his team is good, and Jamar has just been so big for him. That's, you talk about his receiver duo. I think Jamar is one of those 2 guys for him now, and then whoever you like less out of Keenan Allen and Robert Woods is his flex one. So I still like those 3 guys. Melvin is whatever. I still like his running back duo. Kyler, I guess, is a little hurt, but until he's not playing, I still really like Kyler. And then Pitts had a huge game. So I still do like Thomas' team. He's 4-1. It's just, he's not going to go unpunished in my power rankings for the not subbing out Dalvin.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that. So you think Hunter's team is better? You're just giving Thomas the edge because he's got 2 games on him?
Yeah, he's got 2 games on him. And I don't think Hunter's team is enough better where the 2-game advantage doesn't matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like Hunter's team is significantly better. I've got your team at 3. I think that, your team really good, solid depth all around. I think that you made a great trade to get that elite running back 1, and now you have, one of the best running back duos in the league once Montgomery comes back, and the best running back trio in the league with Robinson. So I think that, that with your receivers obviously really good. They'll only get healthier. Jalen Hurts looks like a plug and play QB1 every single week. I don't know. I don't see a lot of weaknesses. I got you at 3. I had you at 4 last week. Now that you got the win to move over 500, I've got you at 3. Slight edge over Hunter.
Yeah, I agree. I have myself at 3 also. I think I'm really solid top to bottom. I think I'm starting to get more of that consistency back. I had some consistency concerns, and now I think I might have capped my upside a little bit with the trade, but I think it raised my floor a lot, which that's one of the main reasons I did the trade. So yeah, I agree. I think Chubb and all that. I think I'm a little bit worried with Lockett with no Russ, but AJ Brown looks like he's getting healthier, still getting targets. Justin Jefferson still a stud. Dalton Schultz, it's possible I got the better tight end in the deal. I don't think I did, but I think it's possible that I did. And then Jalen Hurts is just this fantasy enigma that is benefiting off these great game scripts for him. So yeah, I like my team pretty well, top to bottom.
And then this feels weird for me, but I've got Grant at number 2. He's 5-0, just set the league scoring record, and then scored 150 points the next week. And I moved him down 1. What can I say? Obviously a great team. I think that, his record is a little deceiving. He could have lost a couple of those games, but he's been very consistent. 9-game winning streak. It's solid all around. We both really like his lineup, but he loses Saquon. I think that takes a little of the luster off. And, I just had to reward Colin for a 200-point week, so I got Grant at 2.
Yeah, this is tough. You're probably applying a little bit more logic than I am, but I have Colin at 2 and Grant at 1, and I'm just keeping Grant at number 1 until he loses. He's on however long of a winning streak. I think it's probably in the double digits at this point, right?
At 9.
Yeah, I don't know, almost in the double digits. So I'm gonna try to prevent him from that. But yeah, Colin's team is just really like as clearly as high of upside as we've seen, considering he set the scoring record by 30 points. Just great receiver depth, 2 really good running backs. I think the number 1 quarterback in fantasy for the rest of the year, and Josh Allen. There's really no logical argument for Grant other than he's 5-0 and Colin's 4-1, but I'm just sticking with it. And like Grant has put up some absurd performances. It's just that Colin has, I think, 130 more points against this year than Grant. So it's not that Grant's putting up these getting these cheap wins. It's just that his opponents aren't doing anything. He could have won with, the 8th highest score most weeks. He's just playing all these low scores, but he is for the most part blowing him out, which is what he should be doing. So I'm going to stick with him at 1 until he loses.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I think that, Grant's opponents are scoring almost 60 fewer points a game than Austin's. It's absurd to think about. But he's capitalized. He's been 5-0. It's hard to move him down. But Colin's team is just too much. 200-point performance. I can't not reward that. I had him at 2 last week. I had to move him up. There's only one place to go. So I've got Colin at 1. I feel good about it.
Yeah, with the Saquon injury, I think that's definitely more than fair. I'm out of principle, I'm keeping Grant.
So I think you're right. I mean, I think we have very similar power rankings this week. I think they're starting to settle out a little bit. I was the biggest dropper in both of our rankings. We both moved the same teams up. So I think, fairly similar. I'm a little nervous about my team moving down 4 spots, but I think it's well deserved. And then I think, Colin and Grant at the top, we both agree on. Then there's another crop behind them. Where would you say, Joe? Well, where would you draw the line of like teams that you think could win the championship?
As of right now, I think I would cut it off after Morgan. I think there's 7 right now. Like I just need more. I would say 8, but I just need to see more from Nick's running backs, and we haven't really. So I'm gonna cut it off at the 3 and 2 teams plus Hunter, because this
That's
team's really
fair. That's fair. I think that's probably right. I was gonna be a little bit stricter and say 4, but it's obviously not a 4-horse race. I think that there's a clear 4 best teams, which I think is you, Hunter, Grant, Colin, and Grant. But obviously somebody could get hot towards the end of the year. There's a lot of one injury here, one injury there, and it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and those are kind of the 7 teams where I look at it and I'm like, if things stay healthy, I think they have the upside to do it. Like, even if those, and like, I kind of think that about Zach's team, but like, he's 0-5, so very likely not going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was an interesting segment. Another long podcast. So we will be joined in just a minute by the big Monday night winner, which is Nick. Joe, anything else you wanted to say, talking about the week that was, the big week?
No, I think I talked too much. I think this podcast went on for, once again, way too long.
Yeah, it did.
But we had a lot to discuss.
We had to talk.
We had a lot to discuss.
Most points in league history in a week by over 100. So the teams averaged 127 points this week. That was average. So an outrageous week. We had a lot to get to. All right, so we'll be back with Nick. All right, we're now joined by the Monday night winner this week, Nick. Nick got the thrilling win over Morgan, or over Zach, of course, Zach, with the unfortunate luck again on Monday night. Nick, how did it feel?
It was fantastic. Going into the game, I kind of wrote it off. I was asking myself some tough questions, looking at 1 and 4. What do you do? Do you make some trades? I mean, the big question you have to ask yourself is, are we really stacked? I mean, 1 and 4 is a tough record. So going in, not feeling good, and really was much more occupied with Gruden news. That was kind of fun, making some jokes. 36 points from a tight end probably doesn't happen, but then, we get a touchdown, a 2-point conversion. Joe says something in the group me, and like 2 seconds later, oh, that's a win. And got to feel for Zach, but like I said, Zach is the Lions, and that's another tough loss. I just need like a performance from him or the coach of someone crying. That would make it even better, just like Dan Campbell. But great win. Kind of nice being on the other side of just getting destroyed on a Monday night huge lead. Thank you, Parker, for that earlier.
Yeah, you deserved it from week 2.
And then watching CeeDee Lamb come up like a yard short, like the last 6 minutes of the game. Like, oh, like that was a 20-yard catch. It couldn't have been like a 22-yard catch. But yeah, Monday night gives and takes away. So feeling good.
Yeah. What do you think a win like this does for the clubhouse? Because you obviously, haven't gotten off to the start you wanted to get off to.
No.
At 1-3 had the lowest points last week. What do you think a win like this does to turn things around?
Well, I think we're getting back to being stacked. It was a tough start. Like I said, we were kind of questioning, are we really stacked? And we got the hats out today. I think we're putting away the paper bags for a few more weeks. I've got that picture stored on my phone in case we need to flip the script, but feeling good, especially after 64. If you can double your score from one week to the next, I mean, maybe I don't just blow up the team this week.
Well, I was thinking back to last year. Weren't you the one? Was it you? I couldn't remember if it was you or Zach. Somebody had the Robert Tunyon 3-touchdown Monday night.
That was me. Yeah.
Was it?
I'm still the most mad about that. Yeah, I forgot who it was.
Zach
I think maybe
that,
Grant.
Yeah.
Or was
I
it
thought
Zach?
it was Zach. I think it was Zach. So I think
is
that
this
was
revenge?
Robert Tunyon revenge. Yeah.
I think it was.
That's even
It was a little
better.
tight end revenge. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I didn't know that. I thought it was Grant that did that to me.
No, I think it was the Zach random Robert Tunyon tight end Monday night.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, I think he was picked up like that afternoon.
Yeah.
Like, who are my tight end options? Like Robert Tunyon, like, all right, well, that's a win. I'm up like 15. No, Aaron Rodgers just decides to throw the ball to some scrub. And so that's awesome. Good insight, Joe. I didn't even know that. So yeah, I don't even feel bad anymore.
Yeah, no, you definitely didn't feel bad. You earned your Monday night karma the hard way.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Could be like 4-1, but is what it is. That's fantasy football for you.
So, you got any questions?
Well, so just looking at your team, I think I had you at preseason number 1. Parker had you in his top 5.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that we both agreed on was your big strength was the receiver depth. I still think solid receiver depth. Have you considered, running back's a bit of a weakness. Have you looked at any trades to try to improve that portion of your team, or where do you stand on your overall roster right now?
Overall, I mean, I actually didn't want to do this at all with the 4 really good receivers. Actually wanted 2 good running backs, and I just got outbid, so it's not part of the plan at all. But with the running backs, I actually they're putting up not great performances, but I think Javonte is going to be pretty solid the rest of the year. He just looks better and better, so that's not really a concern. I think anyone I'm going to get isn't going to be an obvious start over him, and I just need to fill one other spot. And I can hopefully just kind of play waiver wire roulette. Obviously, this win kind of changes things. I think I'd be pretty desperate here and probably would have loaded up on the waivers this week if I would have lost, but I'm still feeling not great. I mean, it'd be nice to have someone consistent, and then the receivers are kind of a letdown. You would think, okay, you look at my top 4, I'd get at least one kind of top 10 receiver. I have 0 on the year so far, and hopefully someone turns into that, but Robinson needs to be benched, and I spent a bunch on him, so feeling okay, I guess, but until things get desperate, I guess we'll keep chugging along.
Still got time for the receivers to turn around. I like the Alex Collins pickup that can stop gap for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Try to figure out the running back position, figure out if Damian Harris is going to still be on the team next week after a goal line fumble.
And his ribs are cracked, and hopefully, Chris Carson's neck. Yeah, that doesn't seem like something you just want to rush back into. I don't know, Parker, you're a doctor. I mean, should you just play around with neck injuries? I mean,
I
start Alex Collins.
I think so. Didn't sound good. Yeah, might be time for the Irish dancer.
Yeah, I don't know how you get a day-to-day neck injury, but what do I know?
Yeah.
You need to get Brady to get the rest of your team on the TB12 method.
Yes.
I think that's your solution.
Brady was probably the best pickup I had. I actually liked him a lot this year. Got him in both leagues I'm in. So Brady is kind of saving me.
So my next question is sort of going back. So obviously, 2011 led the league in scoring, dominant performance. Completely.
Yeah, it took a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Very tough on the manager side, but
yeah,
well deserved.
Wise management throughout the year. And then, we're solid, competitive playoff team for a few years there. And then we've had a dry run. Haven't even been in the playoffs since 2017. So
Yeah.
what's changed? What do we need to do to turn around the direction of the franchise?
Well, I'm just happy that my top player didn't decide to like freeze his toes off or like get a season-ending injury. So that's been nice. Back when we were in the snake deal, like I think for like half of the year last year, like half of my original budget was just out. It's kind of hard to compete when 100 out of 200 is just gone. And then the year before, like I think I lost Saquon and AB, which is pretty tough. So like just staying healthy, and you're like, oh yeah, you'll be good. And I guess this year's been a bit better on like top injury, like season-ending injuries. There's been like some month-long stuff, but hopefully you can just stay healthy. But yeah, it has been a rough run. I think the last 2 years I have ended up not being stacked. It's been pretty tough to say. So hopefully we get back to it.
You haven't had great luck either. I will give you that. Just sort of looking at the end of season luck rankings, and you've been in the negatives 3 of the last 4 years. So,
Yeah, and actually last year, I think my last game against Grant, I put up like 120. Of course, he, had a beast of a team, but I think the winner of that game actually was going to the playoffs. So I was still close, even with all the bad injury luck. So, it hasn't been completely terrible. Like, at least I'm not like a historic Thomas or anything, but could be better.
Yeah, no, that is true. You lost in week 13 by 5, and you would have been 7-6 or probably in the playoffs had you won that game. So
yeah, that was tough.
That is tough. Well, it looks like things are turning around. The Monday Night Luck's coming around. So maybe
hopefully we can just keep it coming. I mean, I would like to, not stress out about my fantasy football game on Monday night. Like, let's call it on Sunday. But if I keep facing or getting 30-point performances, so be it. I think I'm due for maybe another one. I'm like, 1-2. So let's at least even it out.
Yeah.
You have Diggs this Monday, so.
Oh, do I really?
Some more stuff to look forward to.
He's due for a good 3-touchdown game, right, Austin?
Yeah, Austin might need a win too.
Yeah, he probably needs it more than anyone besides maybe Zach, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're playing Austin. So what do you think about your chances at topping that 200-point scoring record this week?
Probably very low. That one will probably stay for a long time until like the NFL is like 2-hand touch, basically. That's gonna be really tough to beat. I mean, I didn't look at the specifics, but I don't know what his lowest score was. It was probably like 20.
I think he had
my position, so it's something just
or something like that. And he had 14 touchdowns.
And then another one at 29. But no, I think he had 4 guys at 30, and another was at like 29, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was absolutely outrageous. Yeah, you're right, Joe. 4 guys at 30, and then another one at 29. So basically, he had 5 guys score 30 points each.
So which like wins you the week alone. Like 5 players just wins you the week, easily, and then everything else just adds on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. All right, Joe, you got any more questions, or should we jump ahead to the picks?
No, I'm ready for the picks.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we're gonna talk about these week 6 matchups. So as a reminder on how these picks have been going, Joe and I were each 2-4 last week, and Colin held up pretty well, going 3-3. So total for the season, Joe's back to 500 at 15-15. I'm 11-17, which doesn't really make sense. So his numbers are off somewhere. I should have 30 games too. Either way, I'm a couple of games behind Joe, and then the guest pickers are a total of 11-13. So hanging in there with the winning percentage, but nobody is doing particularly well. Overall, you probably don't want to be picked in these matchups. But we'll get started with the first game of the week here, which is usually I start by highest projected points, and it looks like that's going to be Hunter this week. So Hunter is a 11.5 point or 10.5 point favorite over Zach. Hunter's 5-4 in this matchup all time, and has won the last 4 meetings between these two teams. And the only milestone up for grabs is that his next 125-point game will be his 20th all-time for Hunter. So, Zach, 0 for 5, really in need of a win, going up against the highest projected points in the league. What's your pick on this one, Nick?
Well, Zach definitely needs it. Is he projected 127?
Yeah, he was projected
Am I reading that
130
right?
last
That's
week.
insane.
is,
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Zach needs it. I don't know if he's gonna have the luck he needs. This might just be one of those years for him. Zach's usually been a pretty solid team year to year, so maybe he's just due for a rough year. I don't know, but you know what? I'm gonna go under here, taking the under. I don't buy the big blowout wins, and yeah, so we're going under here.
So what does that mean? You're taking Zach?
This is a first.
No, that's for total.
He's
Yeah,
taking
the
under for total.
Let's support that.
It's a first on the podcast.
116.
no one said I couldn't. I
127.
mean, I think 127
under
nuts.
2. So it's under
243.
244. Yeah, 244.
Yeah, taking the under here.
Yeah, that's the high line.
Whatever the
Definitely
total is, hitting the under.
Okay, Nick takes the under. Joe, what's your pick?
That is a game changer that I did not know. I'm gonna stick to just spreads. I'm gonna take the big X factor for Hunter here is whether Christian McCaffrey plays. Looks like he's trending towards playing, so I'm gonna take Hunter. Some injury concerns on Zach's team. It looks like 5 guys with the questionable tag in the starting lineup now. Could be nothing, but could be something. So I'm gonna take Hunter with the points. I think Zach falls to 0-6.
I'm gonna take Zach. I think it's gonna be a closer game than 10.5 points. And Zach really needs a win. He has some good karma coming his way, I think. So I'm gonna take Zach in this one.
Is
I
this
do
your,
have to pick
is this
up
your
the
too
under,
many
though,
points
because-
lock of the week?
What?
Is this your too many points lock of the week?
No, that's coming up. But I will take the under.
Okay.
I mean, I will take Zach. I like taking the under. I feel like these projections are always too high. Like the majority of teams don't hit their projection.
Oh, I've got an over
probably
pick
just pick
too.
all unders, and that would
I'm
be
ready.
not a bad strategy.
I think we need to start doing this.
I think a good under and over, and then maybe the rest picks would be fun. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, so we got the next most projected points is Colin. So Colin, let's see, it looks like a what do we have him at? 14.4 against Ben.
Or 14.6.
Oh, it must have moved since earlier. I looked at it. Okay, so Colin minus 14.6 against Ben. This series is tied 5-5 all time. Of note, Ben has struggled in week 6. He's 2-8 all time in week 6. Colin needs 163 points to get to 13,000, and Ben needs a 125-point game to get his 5th 125-point game. So a lot of points here, but Colin is riding the momentum. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I think I've basically picked against Ben all year. And even though I think he did cover last week, I picked Thomas, but I think Ben covered. I'm going to take Colin again. I think his team is just on fire, set the scoring record by a lot, and it's just really good top to bottom. Ben has Marcus Callaway on bye. That's kind of the only bye week favor or impact on this game. So I'll take Colin again, given the points.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I don't like Ben's team at all. I'd probably put him last in the league. Going with Colin, fresh off the 200-point win. Yeah, Colin, easy pick here.
I think so. I like Colin in the matchup, obviously, but 14 is a lot of points. And him getting 200 points means that basically everyone scored a touchdown last week. What are the chances that they do it 2 weeks in a row? I'm not sure. So I'll go against the grain, and I'll take Ben to cover. I do think Colin gets the win, but I think Ben will cover the 14. Still not my too many points game of the week, by the way.
Ooh.
All right, so we got Morgan minus 4.8 against Thomas. Morgan's 9-3 in this matchup all time. I don't know. I haven't looked into this matchup too much yet, but this seems like a weird spread. Morgan being favored here. So I don't know. I picked 2 underdogs in a row, but I think I might stay on that train and take Thomas.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna take Thomas. I think he just has a little bit better team than Morgan. Looks like he's gonna get Dalvin Cook back, and if he doesn't, maybe he'll actually put in a replacement for him this week.
Didn't matter last week.
So did not matter last week. But I'll take Thomas with the points. I agree. I think a little wonky that Morgan had a really good week. So I guess a little understandable that his team's favored, but I generally like Thomas's team more.
Yeah, Thomas has historically been like the Vanderbilt of the league. Just, there's a reason why we named the Sacco Trophy the Haney Cup. Thomas, I think Thomas is a bit overrated and kind of has been given some gifts, partly because of me.
Oh yeah, he's been extremely fortunate this year.
Yeah, so I'm not buying Thomas. Thomas, not buying in. I'm coming for you later. I'm taking Morgan.
I guess Morgan's favorite because Kyle Pitts is on bye for Thomas. I guess that should be noted.
I like the pick. All right, so next up we got Joe. You're a 6.2 point favorite over Grant. A surprising line from Vegas on this one. Grant obviously being undefeated, number 1 team in the league, scored over 150 points 2 consecutive weeks, I think 3 times this year already. Or no, that's just the first 2 times this year, but obviously a dominant team, 5-0, and he's the underdog here against you, Joe. How do you feel about that line, first of all?
I think it's a fair line. Grant, I think, is a better team, but he has 3 starters not playing. Cordaro and Debo are on bye. Saquon is injured, not going to play. So I'll take myself. I think good week for me. And I think just coming off the good week, and then Grant, just a little bit. His team is a little bit weakened right now. So I'll take myself giving Grant his first loss of the week, and I'll take myself giving the points.
What do you think, Nick?
Confidence. This game is my over. These are 2 solid teams. And you look at projections, and those aren't high projections. So what's going on? But these teams score a lot of points. So you look at this line, and that's an over line.
Over 227.
If I had to pick, though, this could be Grant's game to lose with all those starters out. But either way, this is still going to be a high scoring game.
I like that.
This is almost too easy of an over, which makes it scary.
Yeah, that's just what Vegas wants you to think.
That's what they want. Yeah.
Well, I didn't read off the analytics, but what's important to know here is that although Joe leads the series 10-9, Grant's won the last 5 of these games. So Grant has Joe's number, has him dialed right now. And for that reason, Joe's due. And so I'm going to take Joe. Also of note, Grant needs 22 points to be the second team to 14,000. Joe needs 111 points to be the second team to 14,000. So Joe can get off to a big chance. Joe can get off to a big lead. He could be the second team, but that seems unlikely.
There's a chance.
Yeah. Grant's next 125-point game will be his 15th. He'll be the 4th team to do that. Joe's next 100-point game will be his 60th. He'll be the 3rd team to do that. And Grant is on a 9-game winning streak, which is tied for the second longest in league history and is only 1 game shy of the all-time record of 10, which Grant also holds. So he's going for his own record here with a 10-game winning streak. So big game for Grant. But I think he loses. I think Joe's due. Joe's not going to lose 6 in a row to an opponent. So I like that pick. I'll take Joe to cover. All right, now we have the too many points game of the week, which is me as a 22-point favorite over Dan, assuming he sets his lineup in the ideal way as projected by ESPN. I'm 10-8 in this matchup all time. My next will also be my 65th. Dan's next win will be his 75th. What can I say? Way too many points. 22 points. Absolutely outrageous line. So I obviously will take Dan to Dan with the points.
I'm taking you. Dan's team is terrible outside of the 2 running backs, and one of them's on bye this week. And it's so I don't think Derrick Henry is going to keep it close by himself. And Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, I think, are going to torch the Washington defense after a poor Sunday night performance. Adam Thielen's going to have a bounce back game. Aaron Jones is going to have a bounce back game. I think your team after the very poor performance last week is just due, and Dan's team is just not very good.
Yeah, I see it too. I mean, Dan's a division rival this year. Can't pick for that, and also kind of upset about that win I gave him. So I'm going Parker. Don't know what the line is. This looks like an under game to me too, but my official pick is Parker.
Well, the other thing here to mention is that playing against Derrick Henry on Monday Night Football is going to be terrifying.
Yeah, if it's close.
If it's like a 40-point game, I still will be nervous about it.
Who's he playing? Who's Derrick Henry playing?
Buffalo.
Yeah, but the Bills defense that you were sucking off all last week about Mahomes and Tyreek, you don't think they're going to do the same thing?
Their pass defense is good.
I don't think so. They're going to get off to a big lead. Terrible game script for Derrick Henry. Terrible.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one to buy.
Funnel defense. They're funneling it to the run game. Hammer Dan in this one. Okay. And then we got you, Nick. You're in the low scoring game of the week, as a 2 or 3.2 point favorite over Austin. Austin's leads this matchup 3-2 all time, and he's 4-1 in week 6. Nick, you're 70.8 points away from 13,000, and you're 100-point game from 45 all time. Austin's next win will be his 40th, and he's won 125-point game from 15 all time. So Austin as a favorite over you, Nick. First of all, how do you feel about that? Second of all, what's your pick for this game?
I mean, probably if you look back at the last 3 weeks, Austin's team probably would have beat me probably at least 2-1. I mean, I had that one good game last week, and besides that, 2 kind of stinkers. So a little nervous, especially missing Calvin Ridley, but didn't need him last week. I like the theory that he didn't get his passport in time. That's why he couldn't go to London.
Wait a second.
That's the theory I subscribe to, but missing him this week on a bye. I'll take me because, of course, we stacked, but I think it'll be close. Probably not a super high scoring game either. This isn't an underline, but feels like an under kind of game. So I'll take me with the 3 points.
Just side note on your matchup, Derrick Henry or the Bills are the second best run defense in the NFL this year. So just side note.
First best pass defense.
Whatever. I'm gonna take Nick with the points. I think Austin's team is in a world of hurt without Clyde and Kittle. Nick's not gonna have Ridley like he didn't have last week, but he pulled one out without him last week, so I think he can do it again.
This is a tough one for me. I don't like agreeing with y'all, but I do on this one. Austin as a favorite in this one seems a little bit weird. I don't know if Devontae Booker's going to do enough to replace Clyde in the lineup. So I like Nick plus 3.5. It's a little fishy. Some of the lines this week are
this is 2.5.
This means I'm going to lose. We all picked me, so thanks everybody.
No problem.
Either way, yeah.
Going by the stats.
Yeah, so I don't know. Austin's due for a week 6 loss. So I like you in this one, Nick. All right, well that does it for the picks for this week. So thanks for joining the show, Nick. And any other messages you want to send out to the league before we call it wraps?
No, Thomas, your team sucks. Overrated. That's all I got. Coming for you.
Well, thanks to everyone for tuning in to the podcast for episode 6 of Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of the fantasy football. Are you ready for some football fantasy football league? Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and retweet.